Alejandro Garnacho isn't joining Aston Villa to rebuild his career. He's joining because Unai Emery believes he can turn him into one of the most dangerous wingers in the Premier League. And after analysing his data, he might be right. Now, when it comes to Garnacho, I don't think many people can actually talk about him constructively. He's not the most likeable of figures. He didn't leave Manchester United on the best of terms, and obviously his struggles with Chelsea last year have meant he's not the most liked figure in West London. But what if I told you, I've seen Garnacho when he broke through at Manchester United when they signed him from Atletico Madrid. I've got a very good picture of Garnacho's strengths and weaknesses, and listen, he definitely has his flaws as a footballer. He definitely has his flaws in terms of maybe attitude. But Aston Villa can unlock an absolute demon. Aston Villa have a very difficult task this summer, and that is replacing Morgan Rogers after he's moved to Chelsea. Now, when you watched Morgan Rogers play, his best asset of his game was arguably his ball carrying capabilities. He was an extremely powerful runner. What if I told you Garnacho helped solve that void? You guys can see the graphic on the screen here, which looks at carries to the final third. It might surprise you, Garnacho is first on that list over the last season in the Premier League when we're looking at attacking midfielders / wingers. And listen, his impressive ball carrying numbers don't end there. This graphic shows his progressive carry numbers. Who's first on the list? Doku. But who's second on the list? Garnacho. Listen, a lot of people don't like Garnacho, but one of his biggest strengths is obviously his ability to carry the ball. He done extremely well for Manchester United at times, and at times for Chelsea last season, you can clearly see he showed it. Now, making videos like this takes a lot of time and preparation, especially when I'm looking at the data. First of all, make sure you guys leave a like on the video for that. But secondly, one thing that did surprise me when I was looking at the data was his dribble numbers. Now, this graphic, I used the data from Scout. And one thing that did surprise me was with Garnacho, he attempted 162 dribbles over the last year. He kept possession 81.5% of the times after the dribble. Now, when you listen to, let's say, the opinions of a lot of people online, you would think every single time he dribbles, he loses the ball. That's clearly not the case. On top of that, one thing that we did see with Garnacho a couple years ago, especially under Erik ten Hag, was his ability to play on the right-hand side. Unai Emery loves his versatile players, and Garnacho is certainly one. Some people may argue on the right-hand side, he might have to think about his game a bit more because he can't come inside and shoot every single time. And at times at Manchester United, he looked a bit more efficient down the right. Now, my biggest frustration with Garnacho becomes the action that he completes after the dribble. He's not the best at creating separation, firstly, but when he does, his inconsistency in his crossing / shooting really lets him down. You guys can see the graphic on the screen here, which looks at his shooting numbers. He actually gets himself into a high volume of situations in terms of his shot numbers are not too bad at 2.34. That is bang average for a Premier League winger. That's fine. But then the real frustration becomes when you're looking at his non-penalty goals. 0.07 goals per 90. That is very poor, and that's because of his lack of composure in front of goal, which is something he really has to work on, and his inconsistency in terms of his ball striking capabilities. Now, when it comes to Garnacho, it's very important to understand the type of winger he is. He's not really going to give you the guile that Buendia / Sancho had for Aston Villa last year in terms of their passing and combination play. Most of Garnacho's ball progression just completely comes from his carries. You guys can see the graphic on the screen here. Look at the bottom where it talks about his progressive numbers through his passing. Non-existent. Passes to the final third, progressive passes, forward passes, not really there. But when you're looking at the top of this graphic in terms of progressive carries to the final third, like we said before, they're sensational. Now, as someone that's watched Garnacho play through the under-18 side at Manchester United into the first team, one thing I always said was he hasn't changed in the way he's played. Now, this can obviously be viewed two ways, in a good way and a bad way. But I always looked at it in a good way, in that Garnacho in the under-18 side was very relentless with his carrying off the ball, trying to create something. He never lost that when he broke into the first team. You guys can see this graphic on the screen here. This looks at non-penalty XG by open play expected assist numbers. Now, I'm not saying Garnacho is as good as anyone on this graphic, because he's not. The likes of Saka, Cherki, Doku, Mo Salah. But this, let's say, metrics focus on volume. Garnacho will provide volume in terms of his actions. The problem that Unai Emery will have to work on is his final product. His final ball, the quality of that ball, the quality of that shot has to massively improve. But if he can, because remember guys, he's still only relatively young. He never had the easiest of seasons. He's never had the easiest of development paths. Last season at Chelsea, 3 different managers. It's not easy for a young player. And Manchester United, there was a period of time where he played 44 games in a row. That's not easy for a young player breaking into the first team who clearly at that time needed a bit of break from all the amount of games he's been playing. But listen, he has Unai Emery. He has Aston Villa. Unai Emery has been able to revitalise a couple of wingers over the last couple of years. The likes of Rashford, for example, that loan worked out extremely well. If Unai Emery can do the same to Garnacho, Aston Villa are going to have an absolute player on their hands. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel, and we will be back soon.